All right, what's going on, everyone? Make sure I got my buttons set up correctly here. Yeah, that's for when we can do our fact checking. Go back to webcam. Boom. There we go. How's everyone doing? Man, I don't know what's going on. YouTube is showing me no love today. That's weird. It's like I'm not getting any impressions. Granted, I just started the stream, so it might take a little bit for people to actually show up here. So I'm waiting on the White House press briefing. It's supposed to start 2:30. It's already 2:36, so it should be starting. Usually about, let's say like 2:50, they probably will start. So I'm gonna pull up the news, see what's going on today. See what people are saying. Today is what, Thursday? Okay. I'll pull this up so you guys can see what I'm looking at. All right, so I got AP News. First thing that comes up, Donald Trump faces his own debate fallout just months after benefiting from Joe Biden's. All right, decline that. Let's see what they're saying about the debate. Personally, when I watched the debate, he lost. That was my opinion. I think he did terrible. What does it say? It says, as part of the rules for their debate, Harris and Trump's microphones were muted while their opponent answered questions from the moderators. And while they were unable to respond verbally in those moments, both nominees reacted with their faces to what they were hearing. Yeah, that was a whole thing for Kamala Harris. A lot of what she was saying, or a lot of what Trump was saying, she was reacting to with her face. She's kind of sitting back and letting him sound like a drunk redneck boomer. That's probably what he sounded like, in my opinion. He did not do very well in this debate. I don't care what anybody says. There's gonna be all kinds of people who love Trump, and for the most part, I've been siding with Trump. I think his policies are better. I was more leaning towards Trump as for my vote, but that debate was not good for him at all. That was a terrible debate. It says Donald Trump emerged Wednesday from a rocky debate against Kamala Harris, looking to regain his footing with 55 days until the election. So even they're kind of agreeing that his performance at the debate was not that great. Seems like. Let's see what else they had to say. All right, here's a quote from Donald Trump, and he says, in the world of boxing or UFC, when a fighter gets beaten or knocked out, they get up and scream, I demand a rematch. I demand a rematch. Well, it's no different with the debate, Trump wrote as he claimed victory. She was beaten badly last night, so why would I do a rematch? So it seems like Trump doesn't really want to actually do another debate, which, you know, just me observing that debate, it's because he lost so heavily. And people are just not going to be honest about it. Hardcore Trump fans are going to say that, oh, yeah, he won, and he just did not win that debate. Sure, Kamala Harris's answers were scripted. They say, like, oh, she's a great actor with 90-second clips. You know, she can do really well as far as acting goes. And I agree. It was totally scripted. A lot of it was fluff, sure, but she came off more coherent She actually answered the questions. She responded better. That's just my opinion. I even though she was acting and her policies are bad, it didn't look good for Trump. It looked really bad. Hey, how's it going? It's going. I'm reading how the media was responding to the debate that we watched. I think most of these news sources are saying that Trump did pretty bad as well. And I have to agree. I don't think he did good in this debate. I think it was a terrible performance. Trump is claiming victory, as you can see from the quote here, where he starts talking about how a fighter who loses immediately demands a rematch, and that's what Kamala Harris was wanting to do. She wants a rematch. But, of course, Trump's going to say he won. He's not going to say he lost. It's just my opinion. That was not a good debate. It was not a good performance by him. But what's going on, Chad? How you holding up this fine Thursday? I have the White House press briefing pulled up. It's just, they never start on time, so we'll see when they start. Let me look at politics real quick. Doing well. Disappointed in lunch. Do you have a crappy lunch or something? Did you go somewhere and it wasn't good? Oh, I saw this too, where Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris, which really doesn't take me by surprise that she was going to do that. She does have a big sway of fans, though, that are going to make people vote for Kamala. So this is kind of a big deal. She has like a cult following. It says young women aren't just identifying as liberal because they like the term or they're more comfortable with the term or someone they respect uses the term. It says Lydia Sad. Who is Lydia Sad? I have no idea who this person is. Is that like the author of this article? I don't know who she is. Yeah, she is not important. They have actually become more liberal in their actual viewpoints. Well, yeah, I think that the abortion issue is definitely going to sway their vote pretty heavily. But I don't think this takes anybody by surprise that Taylor Swift was going to vote Democrats. I don't know. There was like an AI meme or something that came out where people were saying that, or the video showed that she was supporting Trump, but obviously that's not true. I supported a local business and the sandwich I got wasn't sandwich advertised. That sucks, dude. I've been having not so good luck with sandwiches either. When I moved back to the States, I tried Subway, and the prices right now are insane at Subway. So I don't plan on going back. I tried Publix, which is usually pretty good subs here in Florida. And last time I went there, they had like nothing of what I wanted to order. It was very weird. I think this is another thing that I wanted to watch with this guy. He's talking about the weaponization of the Justice Department, so I think that could be interesting. This is as he denounced conspiracy theories and dangerous falsehoods targeting federal law enforcement. Paul, man, tell me you watched these debates. Tell me you actually saw that. Yep, watch live. So Chad and I were watching it, and we both agreed that Trump got stomped. That's just, I'm sorry. Trump didn't do well in that debate at all. It was very bad. How come no one is talking about Kamala giving out U.S. intelligence to non-NATO countries? Well, you're talking about Ukraine, I'm assuming there. I saw that they were in talks of letting them use long-range missiles now. So things are being elevated. Everybody and their uncle was having a watch party. Oh yeah, it was great. Of course people wanted to watch that. I loaded up on caffeine, had to watch it. It was a good time. But I can even say, as someone who was leaning towards voting for Trump, he did terrible. Absolutely just not good until like the end. The end, he started to get better when he wasn't angry and falling into Kamala's traps. It got better. But man, he really came off like a drunk redneck uncle talking about like conspiracy theories, and you just kind of nod and you're like, okay, yeah, all right. If I'm slow, I'm out walking the dogs. All right, man, no problem. Yeah, it was bad. It was terrible, and they're already trying to do damage control. The Trump supporters are still gonna say, "Oh yeah, he won." I even got comments. People, I put in my title when I would post the video that Trump lost, and people are already commenting like, "Oh, we must have not watched the same debate or something." Here, let me see if I can find it, because I thought it was just ridiculous the hate comments I was getting. This one. Let me show you. So full of anger. Yeah, let me show you. So there's this here. This guy says, "Bro, Kamala Harris wouldn't be able to win a debate against a brick wall. She can't go a sentence without lying, and the moderators were clearly helping her the whole time and only targeting Trump." Which, that part I do agree with. The questions were more for him, like harsher for him. I'll agree with that. They fact checked him multiple times. They didn't fact check Kamala, but Trump had to expect that. Even with that being pressed against him, the answers he was giving were not answers to the questions. He had full ADHD going around in circles. He just sounded like a drunk uncle. Your typical MAGA drunk uncle. His thoughts were not very coherent. It was just bad. I don't see how anybody could watch that debate and go, "Oh yeah, Trump won." I agree that the moderators weren't fair. The questions were more harsh for him. The moderators were jumping in. But he still sounded just bad. Just not good. I don't know how anyone can look at that and be like, "Yep, that's a Trump win." So even like this other comment here, this guy says, "Did we watch the same debate? Your title is wrong. Her best rebuttal was on abortion, and that is it." I have no idea what these people are talking about. I'm somebody who was definitely set on voting for Trump. I have no idea what these people are saying. They are crazy. Trump for sure lost that. His rhetoric is extreme, hence the question he got. They let him have a hot mic and cut in. We kind of expect Trump's rhetoric to be extreme. It's going to be, immigrants are coming in and they're killing everybody, blah, 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 blah. But when he started talking about like they're killing your pets, of course that's going to be a meme. And even if we can go back and watch a video and say in one case or maybe even two cases that was true, that's not your go-to in a debate. It's not. That's not a way to make you look good. You should stick to the policies. I like when the moderators fact check Trump's level of sarcasm that he used. Yeah, even that was just ridiculous. They were trying to say that he actually said something that was sarcasm. And I understand how maybe that would trip him up and make him lose the debate, but it comes down to, from the gate, Kamala started talking about his crowd size. That set him off, and then his answers were just, he was angered, and it wasn't a good look. Most of the Aurora, Colorado thing was overblown. Yeah, you can argue that for sure. I just don't think that would have been the answer I gave because it makes you sound crazy. And you can even see now, like, there's clips of it all over TikTok. There's like people reposting they're killing your pets like audio over like pictures of filming their dogs. It's kind of funny, actually. It's like we should have known this was gonna come. And so, of course, Trump is claiming that he won, which I don't know how he's doing that, but apparently he is. I mean, of course, he's not going to say he lost, but that was a terrible performance. I'm not sticking up for Trump. Saw the Alf memes too. Yeah, it was bad. He's getting trolled. I watched a little bit of the SpaceX where they were lowering the PSIs in the ship, and then they let the astronauts actually like go out there and move around a little bit. It's pretty cool. Actually, they have it right here. Yeah, I saw it when it was live this morning. It was pretty cool. You can actually see them like moving around in space, and at certain points you can actually get a view of the Earth when they're doing it.
Dragon SpaceX vent complete. EV1 return to seat.
They like stabilize the cabin here and push the door
EV1
open.
Transitioning back under the display.
So again, one of the reasons we had Jared do that was to...
Dragon SpaceX, we're actually copy test matrix 3.
Top of the mobility aid.
He's just out there in space. You can kind of see a little bit of Earth from here, but the angle they're at, you can't really see it as much. But yeah, I watched that this morning. I thought it was really cool. They let each astronaut go up there and kind of work some mobility and do some tests. There's like 4 of them there. Did you see the feud between MTG and Laura Loomer? No, I didn't. I did not see that. Speculation that this is the last ever mainstream media presidential debate. They're saying this debate left more distrust in MSN. I mean, it definitely did. I saw there's a bunch of memes too about how Harris had like a earring that was like had a microphone or something in it, or a speaker, where people are like feeding her information. Who knows if that's true or not? But That's definitely going out there on the X, so people are definitely saying that. Let me see what this feud is. Uh, MTG versus Laura. Green and Loomer, but they're both Republicans, so why are they fighting each other? They're both pretty far over there. Green and Loomer. Let me pull it up for you, actually. It says Green and Loomer get into back and forth over racist Harris attack. Okay. I just want to see the tweet, though. Do they have the tweets? Get this out of here. Let's see. Right-wing activist Laura Loomer, a former congressional candidate with a lengthy history of anti-Muslim comments. Okay, they really started her off right. Have engaged in a war of words on the social platform X, with Green calling Loomer appalling and extremely racist. Okay, for her recent comment. Loomer quoted a Sunday Post in which Harris was talking about her Indian heritage and said that if she wins the election, the White House will smell like curry and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center, and the American people will only be able to convey their feedback through a customer satisfaction survey at the end of the call, and nobody will understand. Damn, that's straight up racist. That's pretty messed up. On Thursday night, 3 days after Loomer's post, Green posted a response saying the comment does not represent who we are as Republicans or MAGA. That's good on her. This does not represent President Trump. This type of behavior should not be tolerated ever. Yeah, obviously. This Laura Loomer chick seems a little bit not stable to me. I don't know a lot about her. I've seen maybe some tweets, or people have referenced her tweets before, but I don't know, man. I don't know about her. She's a little sketch. And especially after this tweet here, that's just, yeah. And they're obviously saying during 9/11, you're going to say that? Like, come on. I don't know why they didn't just show pictures of the tweets. That's kind of lame. I want to see in the future town hall type events with both candidates with no moderators asking questions. Just unknown questions from the audience. Yeah, why couldn't they just do it from X? I mean, I guess now you could probably say maybe X is more right wing, but it seems the most free speech. If you actually got Elon on board, it seems like he would be for an open platform. Because I agree, like the questions were not really fair, and asking audience members would be more fair. But then you have to think, how are you going to vet those audience members? Are you going to have an equal number from each party? You know, what's going to go into that? And also, depending on where they have this at, you know, it's going to be probably skewed one way. For instance, if you go to Chicago, you know, it's going to be mostly Democrats. She is sketched, but she has been flying around with Trump and helped him prepare. I don't know, she comes off like a conspiracy theorist to me, though. I haven't seen her with Trump. I've only seen her crazy tweets. Which I guess would make sense why Trump came off like a crazy conspiracy theorist in the debates. You know, that totally makes sense. Yeah, it's 3:00 and they are half an hour late for doing the White House press briefing. I am not surprised. hall, I'm thinking we can actually ask questions that matter to us, the people. Yeah, that would be great to actually be able to get questions from the people, questions that aren't pre-prepared, not done through news media to have their agenda in there. So even Elon is saying that Trump didn't do so hot. Let me show this here. I haven't seen this, but Elon's saying, well, I don't think the debate hosts were fair to Donald Trump. Kamala Harris exceeded most people's expectations tonight. That said, when it comes to getting things done, not just saying nice sounding words, I strongly believe that Trump will do far better of a job. Which is, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel as well. And then he's just saying, if she was going to get things done, why hasn't she done it already? Which, right. Or have it moderated by Peter Ducey, who hates everyone. Exactly, throw that guy up there. Because he's a journalist that's just looking for like shocking headlines to get people to read. That's pretty much what he's going for. So he's just going to ask the most out there questions that are probably slightly offensive to people. Trump wants a debate moderated by Sean and Jesse. I just saw a quote from him saying that he doesn't want to do any more debates because he feels like he won. I saw a Newsmax poll that had Kamala Harris up to. Let's look at the polls. Let's see where the polls are at today. I'm assuming Kamala just launched into orbit. So I'm going to pull up this one, and then even the Trump leading polls, I'm going to pull that up too. So here's our national polls. Let's see what happened. This was updated the 12th, so at 2:34 a.m. or p.m. rather. So it has the debate in here. And they're still showing like 47 to 42. Insider advantage actually has Trump ahead, so that's new. Some of these don't. These are old. This is from the 9th, which should have the debate, right? When was the debate? No, that won't have the debate, actually. Because the debate was Tuesday. So some of these are old. Who's ahead in the national polls? Let's see. Yeah, they're showing 47 to 44 with Harris winning. I thought it was pretty intense. Had to remind myself to breathe. Yeah, it was just a train wreck. Kamala did very well. She got under Trump's skin, and that just kind of set it off. He fell right into her trap. Yeah, so they're pretty much just showing Kamala's in the lead on a lot of those. And then even the poly market one, where it's kind of like these are crypto bets, so you kind of expect them to be leaning towards Trump because of how favorable they are to Republicans right now, because they want to actually let them have crypto and not regulate it to death. Even on poly market, Harris is up now, which he had a huge lead on poly market. My mom was worried she didn't do well enough for some undecided voters. And to be honest, I don't think it changed anyone's opinion is the thing about this. I don't think anyone is like changing their team based off of this debate. The people that are for Trump are pretty much still saying, oh, the fake news, they had it out against him. And the people that were going to vote for Kamala are just like, oh, she did so well. She's such an intelligent speaker. I don't think a debate like that in that format is going to change anyone's mind, which kind of brings up what Chadwin's saying. They need an unbiased debate with actual citizens asking questions. That would sway people's votes because a lot of it seems scripted. They were so busy getting Trump mad, they didn't realize that Kamala too was lying. Exactly. So there was definitely times where Kamala was lying and she was not fact checked, which just kind of shows how unfair it was. But even with that happening, Trump's answers were just awful. He didn't go after the actual reasons why people want to vote for him. He went full conspiracy tard. And that just, no. The Dems in my circle were actually concerned that Kamala was so calm during her talking about how she was going to change all the things she was a part of. If Trump would have focused on her flipping on those issues, it might have looked worse. What's going on, Just Killer? We're talking about the debate while we wait for the White House briefing to come on. But yeah, for Kamala, it was so rehearsed and practiced. I get how people don't like that. She needs to explain her fracking logic for both heard and sides. Yeah, for her flip-flop on fracking, like if Trump would have like dived into that more, or just everything from like the defund the police, like if he would have actually hit on the issues and not talked about, oh, they're eating your pets, they're killing your cat, like, and sounding like a weirdo. Kamala played him. She played him pretty well. Both sides. Polymarket is flip-flopping. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about here, is that even on Polymarket, which was Trump was so far in the lead. Thanks for the follow. Trump was so far in the lead on Polymarket, and you think he would be because it's a crypto platform and Republicans are for crypto. Trump was at the Bitcoin conference saying that he was going to not have any crazy regulations. Democrats have pretty much, for the most part, been really bad to the crypto goers. So you'd think Trump would have been in the lead, like, and had a crazy lead. It makes total sense. But even now, Kamala is in the lead. People have flip-flop on Polymarket. They're trying to make some money. That's why. After that debate, it just looks really bad. Trump did poorly, I'll admit. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're all saying. Even, I was leaning towards voting for Trump. I still am, but he did bad. Yeah, it was really just terrible. Scroll down, let's see the map. Yeah, we can pull the map up. So this is what they're showing. Midwest, pretty much red. Illinois, Chicago, is going to pretty much flip the state blue. I'm not surprised that Florida is still looking like Trump. I question if, just looking at this poll, this is based off of people betting on what he's going to win. There is a strong Democrat population in Florida, but I don't think it's enough right now to flip. Texas. Yeah. What's that color? Oh, yeah. What is this? There should be a key, right? Was it up top or something? I don't know. I don't know why they put that color there, but it's showing Trump's in the lead in both of them. I don't know why they didn't have it red. That's weird. Maybe it just recently flipped or something. I don't know what they're doing. I think it's close. Whew. What did Kamala lie about? She had far fewer than Trump. Specifically, I'd have to go back and watch it, but I know there was definitely times like for sure you could definitely go to like the Project 25 stuff and all of her typical blah 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 stuff that isn't true, but she had other things that were like I don't know, more meaningful, I guess you would say. The retirement community, the villages in Florida flipped for Kamala. Yeah, man, I'm in Florida now, and I can tell you there is a strong population of Democrats here. They're really people think Florida is like MAGA country, and for the most part, it probably is. But there's definitely some Democrats here. Trump is winning on this map. It shows he's losing based off of this. 49%. Well, I guess this is actually just the bet. I don't know. It's hard, like, looking at this isn't an actual poll. This is just what people are willing to bet. I think it's important to remember that. Hence being behind on percentages. Popular vote winner. Even on the popular vote, they're saying Kamala's going to get it by 74%. Really? That seems high. Extremely high. Yeah, we still got 54 days. I wonder if they're going to do another debate. If they're actually going to come to a agreement for another one to happen. I don't believe Trump's connections to Project 25 is fake. Most of his people are involved. I mean, yeah, you could say that, but his actual platform, his actual policies are not that. So to say that's his platform, no, he has his platform on his website of what he wants to do. Agenda 47 is basically the same thing summarized. Oh wait, here we go. We're actually starting. Let me full screen this. What's going on, King? What are we waiting for? We're waiting for Karine to come out. She about 45 minutes late. No big deal. Let me turn up the volume too. There we go. Boom. Thank you for the like. Appreciate that. 3 likes. I don't like this woman. I look at her like a journalist. She is only going to tell like her side's story. Her job is pretty much to protect the president and his public image. I'll just put it that way. So you could say, yeah, sometimes she's not necessarily truthful, and that makes her unlikable. But that's her job, you know? She seems very ignorant. I don't think she's ignorant. I think she's actually pretty smart. She just has to not tell it like it is. For being honest, she has to support the president. That's her role. I don't know why they cut the volume there. You got chatters on X or Twitch? Just Killers on Twitch. And King is also on Twitch. JK or KJP never answers any questions. Is she running for president as well? That's kind of what I'm saying. Like her job is to not make the president look bad. It's kind of like when you're in the military and the chief would answer questions for the commander and he would give you those like political answers. That's kind of how I look at her. Cool, my phone screen is too small. Speaking of the president, did you... Oh, here she comes. All right, so here comes Karine. This is going to be the first one after the debate for our White House press briefing.
So for over 30 years, combating gender-based violence has been the cornerstone of President Biden's career. When Joe Biden was growing up, his father used to say to him that the cardinal sin was abuse of power. And that includes a man raising his hand to a woman or a child. When he was a young man and serving as a U.S. Senator, he saw how society looked away from violence against women. Few police departments had special victims unit. Many states had laws on the books that protected the abusers rather than the victims. More often than not, marital rape wasn't considered a crime. There was no national hotline to call. Women's shelters were referred to as indoctrination centers. All of this was completely unacceptable to Joe Biden. It's why in 1990, then Senator Biden wrote the landmark legislation, the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, to protect women from domestic violence, stalking, and sexual assault. But we knew that wasn't enough.
Did I see Biden wearing the Trump hat? Yeah, I saw that. I actually thought it was AI at first, but it was legit. I guess that old guy was kind of giving him shit. The woman with sign language is mocking her. They always are crazy. Well, this is mood lifting beginning. Exactly. What else is going on today? I'll be on headphones doing some yard work. There was some guy was talking about the Department of Justice. I think I might watch that as well, but I got to look and see what else is going on.
So as chairman, or he knew
that was a great clip.
Wasn't enough. Yeah. So as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he held public hearings on violence against women, where courageous survivors shared stories of horrific violence. And his committee published groundbreaking reports on the impact of violence against women, documenting this tragedy in a way that policymakers could not ignore. It took years of building awareness, legislative expertise, and perseverance by Senator Biden, by then Senator Biden, in 1994. VAWA passed Congress. For decades, he has worked across the aisle to strengthen it. As president, he continued to expand his signature legislation, using every legislative and administrative avenue to address gender-based violence during his presidency. And today, to keep building on his proudest legislative achievement, Joe Biden is announcing new actions to combat gender-based violence. A total of more than $690 million in new funds to support survivors of gender-based violence, guidance on new protections to meet the housing needs of survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, dating violence, and stalking, a new National Resource Center on cyber crimes against individuals to help law enforcement and community-based organizations prevent, enforce, and prosecute cyber crimes.
Reports are saying he kept the MAGA hat. He brought it home with him. Dang, dude, when I was your age, I wasn't interested in politics at all. Hard not to be these days. Yeah, because it's such a... it's entertainment based. Let's just say that.
New private sector commitments to take on the non-consensual sharing of intimate images and cyber crimes against individuals, and new actions to support law enforcement in removing guns from domestic abusers. The president is proud that between 1993 and 2022, annual domestic violence rates dropped by 67%, and the rate of rapes and sexual assault declined by 56%. It is one of the reasons why Joe Biden calls it his proudest legislative achievement. But he knows there is more work to do. So it is why today his new actions are so important. As the president said, and I quote, "Today, as we mark 3 decades since we passed into law the Violence Against Women Act, we celebrate our progress while recommitting to the work ahead."
Wouldn't it be crazy if he endorsed Trump? That would be something I would never see ever happening. It would come out of nowhere. But how crazy politics are, would it surprise us? Would it really be that big of a deal? This is right here. Let's bring it up. This is what we're talking about. Biden was kind of joking around with this MAGA guy. He put on his hat. They were kind of giving each other shit. And from what Just Killer was saying, he actually took the MAGA hat home with him. So just them kind of joking around. It was funny.
Also, the president and his senior team are closely monitoring the impacts of Francine as it moves through to the southern United States. FEMA Administrator Criswell is currently in Louisiana. She will meet with state and local officials, survey damages, and provide an update on our response efforts. Before Francine made landfall, the president approved Governor Landry's of Louisiana's request for an emergency declaration, which unlocked federal assistance to help support life-saving and life-sustaining efforts. Over 700 federal personnel, including 128 urban search and rescue personnel, are in Louisiana and ready to support any emergency response requests from the state. FEMA has also pre-positioned more than 750,000 meals, 1.2 million liters of water to support the needs of survivors. We continue to encourage those who are in the path of Francine to stay alert. Visit ready.gov for tips on how to stay safe and follow the recommendations of state and local officials. The Biden-Harris administration stands ready to provide additional support to impacted areas as necessary.
How many Democrats would vote for Trump if he did? I don't think it would sway anything, really. It'd be funny, but I don't think it would really matter for the election. I was joking that Biden was sending a signal about being forced out. That's funny. He probably was. Also, speaking of Francine, has it hit Florida yet? Dude, here in Florida, it rains every day. It's hard for me to even keep up to know what's going on. I'll look it up though. I'll see, because I don't even know what category this hurricane is supposed to be, what they're even talking about, where it's supposed to hit. I didn't even think it was supposed to hit us, but I guess maybe it changed. I'm all for fighting against gender-based crimes, and new laws are great, but they need to find a way to ensure a person's life isn't ruined with a he said, she said accusation. Absolutely. Yeah, they need proof. You're innocent until proven guilty.
And as I'm sure you guys already have heard this, but over the course of this administration and during his time as vice president, President Biden's approach to foreign policy in the Western Hemisphere has been based on his belief that democracy is fundamentally vital for sustained economic prosperity and security. Now, Venezuela is no exception, and the blatant electoral fraud following the July 28 presidential elections must continue to be condemned, and those obstructing democracy held accountable. And that is why, to that end, today we took 2 important actions to hold Nicolas Maduro and his cronies accountable for their blatant electoral fraud, obstruction of a competitive and inclusive election, and violation of the civil and human rights of the people. First, the Department of Treasury sanctioned 16 Maduro-affiliated officials. Second, the Department of State imposed new visa restrictions on a significant number of Maduro-aligned officials who have undermined the electoral process in Venezuela and are responsible for acts of repression. To date, The U.S. government has sanctioned over 140 current or former Venezuelan officials and
It looks like it's coming up the panhandle here. So that's probably why I haven't heard much about it. So I can't say I'm too concerned, for myself at least. Hopefully everyone, in that Alabama lower or panhandle part of Florida is okay.
and taken steps to impose visa restrictions on nearly 2,000 individuals. The United States does not stand alone here in expressing our concerns with Maduro's anti-democratic actions. This morning at the UN headquarters in New York, we stood beside Panama and more than 50 other countries from across the region and globe to express our continued commitment to Venezuelan-led democratic norms, as well as our deep concern with the politically motivated arrest warrant issued by Venezuelan authorities, Edmund Gonzalez Urrutia. The United States will continue to work with our international partners to encourage Venezuelan-led constructive and inclusive dialogue to restore democratic norms, ensure Maduro and his representatives are held accountable for their actions, and support the people's aspirations for democracy and a more prosperous future. In the meantime, we cannot stand by while Maduro and his representatives blatantly commit electoral fraud and use violent, indiscriminate repression to silence opposition to Maduro's rule, hence our actions today. At the beginning of this administration, President Biden made the decision to take the Quad to the leader level, and next weekend, President Biden will host the 4th in-person Quad Leader Summit in Wilmington, Delaware.
How can a country with questionable election practices like us demand other countries to listen to us about elections? Totally agree with that. I mean, when you see the control the Biden administration had when it came to censoring the Twitter files, all of that stuff, or even the letter that just came out from Facebook saying that the worst thing that they did was censor people. This clip sums it up. Let me see if I can find it.
The president looks forward to welcoming Prime Minister of Australia, Prime Minister of India, and the Prime Minister of Japan. This will be President Biden's first time hosting foreign leaders in Wilmington as president, a reflection of his deep personal relationships with each of the Quad leaders and the importance of the Quad to all of our countries. The Biden-Harris administration has made elevating and institutionalizing the Quad a top priority, and this Leaders Summit will focus on bolstering the strategic convergence among our countries, advancing our shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific region, and delivering concrete benefits for our partners in the Indo-Pacific in key areas. We will have more of the Wilmington-specific base details in days ahead of this particular Quad Summit that's happening next weekend. And lastly, this is a fun thing for all of us here.
Okay, fun thing.
I wanted to take a moment to congratulate. We're about to embarrass her wholeheartedly, and I'm really happy about that because she should be. She's such a great person. And celebrate Kelly Scully. Well, Kelly's been supporting our team and working with many of you on healthcare and education stories, and she's not leaving. But she's also been working on her own story on love. Oh.
All right, I don't care.
I didn't know
about
how I was
that.
going to deliver that.
So let's see what you were talking about here. Oh, here's the clip. Okay, so it says, I watched this longer clip and it only gets worse for Kamala. The man in the Trump hat didn't take it off and tell Joe to wear it. Joe looked at him and said, I need that hat. Put it on and smiled for the cameras. Direct hit on Kamala. Let's see what actually happens here. Let me turn the volume
I'll
on.
give you my presidential hat. Presidential seal on it.
You want to autograph it?
Oh, sure, I'll autograph it.
Huh?
Yeah.
You remember your name?
I don't remember my name. I'm slow.
You're old part.
What?
You're an old part.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm an old guy.
And you're an old part, right?
I know you would know about that.
What?
About being old.
Oh, I know.
All right.
I'm a young timer. Huh?
You know, he reminds me of the guys I grew up with. There was always one in the neighborhood.
Well, I'm the only one.
There you go, man. I need that hat.
You want my autograph?
Hell no.
He said, hell no.
My name.
ain't going that far.
Yeah. You would do a selfie.
Oh, he did do it.
Hey, I'm proud of you now. You old fart. Huh?
Just remember, no eating dogs and cats.
No eating dogs and
Hey,
cats.
they're good.
Thank you.
They're good. Kentucky Fried Chicken.
I hope you like the pizza.
Man, they just goofing on each other. It's that innocent exchange, let's be real. What a depressing looking room. He keeps hold of it too. Yeah, they said he walks off with it. Maybe he gives it back. Well, who knows?
Anyway, Kelly and her fiance Joe, who is here in the back of the room. Kelly does not know this. Hi, Joe.
We don't care about Kelly. Let's go forward.
I'm so proud. So maybe I should take some credit for that.
How about we take
As a
some
whole
questions?
member of our team. There's a lot of like internal jokes happening. Yeah. So, hi. Please join us in wishing them. And wait to have you back. Something else, Joe. All right, guys.
All right, clap, clap. Take questions. Let's
Thank
do
you
it.
for being here. I know you had a busy day, so thank you for stopping by, Joe. Okay. Are you fully embarrassed? No. No. Oh, you want more? You want more embarrassment? Another one. All right, let's get to it. I know it's late. Colleen.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so a couple things.
Israel is still launching missiles, and we're needing to know about Kelly and Joe. Yeah, no, we don't care.
Can you tell us how the president thought the debate went? Where did he watch it? How did he consume the details of the debate?
Yeah, so as you know, he was in New York ahead of September 11th, so he watched it at the hotel in New York. And I'm going to be careful. I'm going to give you an answer, but I'm going to be careful because it is a 2024 campaign, so just have to say that at top. But what the president saw directly for himself is he saw a commanding, optimistic performance from the leader who he's been working with for the past 3.5 years, side by side. And he heard a powerful case for shared values that they have and shared policy goals that they have, standing up for our rights against dangerous abortion and IVF bans, tax cuts and lower costs for families to keep us on this strong economic growth trajectory. Instead of Maganomics, you hear me talk about this, the $4,000 increase in taxes and cuts for working people. He also saw her, again, demonstrate her commitment to keeping us more secure and safe, not just here, but obviously around the world. And he saw someone who continues to put the American people first, and she did it in an optimistic way, in an optimistic and dominant and powerful way. And I think you saw his tweet, bless you, that his team put out that night. And so he's very, very proud of her.
On September 11th, did the president and Donald Trump were together and standing near each other? Did they have any conversations? Did they speak about anything?
I don't have any conversations to read out. I think you saw everything was pretty much being recorded in real time. Outside of what you saw yourselves by looking at the video, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other thing. I'm sorry.
No,
really
go
quick.
ahead.
On the Wilmington summit, I just wondered if you could share anything about, is the president going to have the leaders to his house for a barbecue, or, what are the plans for how he's going to entertain the leaders?
Yeah, we did say it was personal, right?
Yeah.
Politics is personal. And he believes politics and obviously, in this case, foreign policy is personal. I don't have anything else to share beyond what I gave at the top of the briefing here, but he's looking forward to doing this. It is the first time hosting foreign leaders in Wilmington, as I just said at the top. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for him to reflect certainly of his deep personal relationships that he's had with each of the Quad leaders, and we'll have more soon to share.
Okay, thanks.
Risha.
Thank you, Corinne. There is a woman named Laura Loomer
Oh, here we go.
recently tweeted that if the vice president wins the election, the White House will smell like curry, and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center, among other things. She recently traveled with the former president, and I wonder if President Biden has read these remarks and his response.
Let me
Why would she even say that? Like, what was she hoping to get out of that? Let me see if I can actually pull up the tweet.
tell you our response from here. It is repugnant, these types of comments. It is un-American to say these types of things. Exactly the kind of hateful and divisive rhetoric that we should denounce, and we should not be part of the fabric of this country. It doesn't matter what your political views are. You should stand and condemn these types of just repugnant words. No leader should ever associate with someone who spreads this kind of ugliness, this kind of racist poison. That's what this is. And who continues to fan these types of dangerous and insulting conspiracy theories, like the false notion that the tragic 9/11 attacks were an inside job. We were all you all saw leaders and family members tell their stories. Yesterday, especially at Ground Zero in New York City, we all, I'm sure, many of us have personal stories of that day, 9/11 of 2021, and more than 2,000 lives were lost. 2,000. And to say that it's an inside job, and to spread that is insulting. And we should not, no leader should be connected to that or spreading that. And as the President Biden has always said, it's our duty. It is our duty as Americans to give hate no safe harbor, and to bring the country together around our shared values, and to recognize and appreciate the unique strength that our diversity gives us as a nation. He says this all.
All right, so this is what she's talking about. I found a picture of the tweet. It's not the actual tweet, but it is on her page, so she did respond to it. And it says, if Kamala Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry, and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center, and the American people will only be able to convey their feedback through a customer satisfaction survey at the end of the call that nobody will understand. And she's responding to one of Kamala's tweets in there, but why would she say that? Why? Okay. Just as I said before, the attacks on me are coordinated efforts by the media to distract from the fact that Mike Nellis, the business partner of Lauren Merchant, the daughter of who cares, has been ordered to appear before the House. No, it's not. You said some fucked up shit. It's not a distraction. See, that's what I mean. Like, this lady just seems crazy to me. I don't know why Trump is like around this lady. She just seems awful. She said some racist shit, and now she's like, oh, this is a coordinated effort with the media. Like, of course they're gonna attach this. I don't know, but she probably wanted this. She probably wanted the attention from this, is what I'm assuming.
All the time. Our diversity is our strength, and that's what we should be following.
I'm waiting for my account was hacked tweet. Exactly. But she doubled down on it. She's been tweeting like all morning. I can't go through all of her tweets. Like, she's just been tweeting for hours, just a bunch of BS. She just seems unstable.
On a related note, during the debate, Trump spread false claims and lies about immigrants eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. The city manager disputed those false claims, and today, City Hall was evacuated after a bomb threat was sent to city agencies and media outlets. Does President Biden believe Trump's words and rhetoric contributed to those threats today?
So look, I want to be super mindful. We are aware of the reports of a bombing threat, as you just stated, in Springfield, Ohio. At City Hall, local police obviously is investigating the situation, and we encourage everyone to follow the public safety guidance. I don't want to speculate from here the source of the bomb threat, but I do want to take a step back. I think it's important that all of us take a step back here. And just lean on the facts here. The Springfield, Ohio Police Department has debunked this very bizarre and very hateful smear that's out there. It is what is happening here is an attempt to tear apart communities and disrespect. Let's not forget also disrespecting law enforcement. And that is the opposite of what our country deserves. It is undignified and an insult to all of us as Americans, not just one community, but to all of us as Americans. And it is spreading filth that makes.
So here's the police department statement that she's talking about here. It says, "We wish to clarify that there have been no credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community." But when you go back to X, there's like videos of one Haitian eating like a cat or something. So that's what he was referencing there.
The lives of the communities that are being smeared here, it puts their lives in danger. And it is just hate speech. That's what it is. And some of the news organizations here have reported that some Haitian immigrants are fearing for their safety right now because of a result of conspiracy theory. This is what this is. So instead of leaders trying to bring us together around our shared values, which is something that the president believes and says all the time, as I just stated, and the president and the vice president, that's what they want to see. They want to see us come together in our shared values in a respectful way. And I will say one more thing, and I think if you guys could hear me out for 1 second, like maybe we should not have leaders who fall for fake internet conspiracy theories. We should think about that. Maybe we should not have leaders who do that. Our country deserves better. Okay.
Thanks. A follow-up there. Any message from the White House specifically to the residents of Springfield, Ohio?
Because of the bomb threat, or
And all that's been going on social media, and the conversation around it, how the city manager has had to reply.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate the Springfield, Ohio Department Police debunking this.
So this conspiracy theory comes from, like I said, somebody's cat or dog was snatched up. It also has to do with these geese being abducted. And this is from the New York Post. It says a resident made claims at a Springfield City Commission meeting about migrants stealing ducks from a park. And so this guy, actually, there's video of him going on a rant about how these people were stealing geese and supposedly taking them back and cooking them up, and he was offended by it. But there's no police report for it. There's no official. It's just this guy claiming that they were doing that. Now, if is he credible or not? I don't know. That's for you to decide. They need to admit this may be possible and not everything is a conspiracy theory. Problem is they don't acknowledge that there is a video of this going on in the country. They just deny everything, just like people getting better with ivermectin and COVID. Let me see if I can find the actual video, because I mean, this is what they're referencing here. They're talking about this man with the geese, but there was also something about a cat and a dog.
Again, very bizarre, hateful smear.
Let's see.
And that is something that we appreciate. We should continue to come together as a country. We should not be tearing our communities apart. I'm sure that the community is dealing with a lot of incoming on this. It's unfortunate. And certainly not, I can't speak to the bomb threats and get behind that. There's an investigation that the local police are looking into. But we appreciate certainly the Ohio Police Department coming out right away in Springfield and saying, this is false.
All right, man. So I found the video. Well, let's watch the video. I haven't seen this, so I don't know what's actually going on here. Let's pull that up and see what the hell these people are even talking about.
Death. Did you eat that cat? Did you eat it? No, why'd you kill it? Get in there. It's ridiculous. Here. all right, other kitty. You're safe.
What?
Did you guys see all this?
So the cat's there. It's not dead.
Did you see her eating it? She was eating it?
Yeah. She said, but it's blood on her shoes. She said she stumped it out.
Yeah.
33 gun.
Well, you don't kill a cat and go to the hospital. You go to jail.
Donald Trump's decision.
Okay, that's what they're referencing there. This video is apparently about 200 miles outside of Springfield. Yikes, man. So how can so it's outside of Springfield, so they're saying that that's why there's not any police records for it. I guess that would make sense.
This is not true. Debunking this hateful, very hateful smear.
I wanted to ask you actually about another one from the debate. Former President Trump refused to say plainly whether he wanted Ukraine to win the war. Has the White House fielded any calls from allies about this, what this could mean if he wins, a change in U.S. policy? Has it impacted any of the White House's work with counterparts in Ukraine?
So here's what I'm going to say. Look, I'm not going to answer specifically to what happened at the debate. What I will say is President Biden is president right now. And you have seen what he has done over the last more than 3.5 years. And he's always made sure that when it comes to foreign policy, we have diplomatic conversations. We try to rebuild those relationships that were pretty much soured by the last administration. We saw what the last administration did to our relationships across the globe. And as it relates to Ukraine and the war that they're fighting because of Russia's aggression, you've seen the president's continued commitment to making sure that Ukraine has everything that they need to fight for their democracy, to fight for their freedom. And that's going to be continued, obviously, the president's commitment and the vice president's commitment as well. They've done this as partners over the past 2 years, more than 2 years now. And so that is what matters right now in this moment. The signal that we're sending has been very clear to the brave people of Ukraine, to our allies and partners, that we are standing behind them and continue to do just that.
Is there any update to give on the negotiations in Doha? There was a new statement from Prime Minister Netanyahu that definitely suggested things were not going well.
So what I will say is that we are going to continue to work on this agreement. This is an agreement that will bring hostages out of Gaza. That's what we want to see. And obviously, as you know, some of those hostages include American hostages, and we're going to continue to do that under the terms of the deal that's now on the table. That's what we're focusing on. As you know, and we say this all the time, we're just not going to go negotiate in public. Okay.
Thanks, Corinne. The President has both the Wilmington Summit and the meeting tomorrow with the British Prime Minister. I'm wondering if we can anticipate a press conference at either or both, since traditionally both would be kind of forums that we'd get to hear from the President.
So I don't have anything to share on the Quad Summit as far as a press conference component. I believe there is not one scheduled for tomorrow. But I can say that the president obviously is going to continue to take questions from all of you, and I just don't have anything to share beyond tomorrow at this time.
And then there was a meeting today at the White House with leading AI companies. I'm wondering if you could give a readout of what was discussed, but also if there were any agreements or plans headed forward for what the companies and the administration want to do together.
So we are going to have a readout. If it hasn't gone out yet, it will go out shortly of that particular meeting that happened this morning, as you just stated. It included White House officials from across the campus: Jeff Zients, Lael Brainard, Jake Sullivan, Bruce Reed, and Secretaries of Commerce and Energy were all there, and we'll have a full readout, hopefully momentarily, that should hit your inboxes. And so I think what you can take from this particular meeting meeting is the continued commitment from the president and the vice president to deepen our U.S. leadership as it relates to AI, and by ensuring data centers are built in the United States while ensuring the technology is developed responsibly. And so that is part of what was discussed in the meetings today. And we're talking about AI companies, hyperscalers, utility companies, and all of this was to talk about, again, the data center development of AI. The meeting focused on accelerating public-private collaboration in advance of U.S. leadership in advancing U.S. leadership in AI, and how to meet the workforce permitting and infrastructure needs associated with technology. The industry leaders, so you have this, and again, it'll be a more fulsome readout that'll go out to all of you, was Anthropic, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, and a few others. And this has been the president's commitment, the Biden-Harris commitment, in trying to make sure that we get ahead of this really important technology.
They invited Elon in there for once. Why do sign language interpreters always look like they're having fun? Well, they have to be animated because people can't hear. So for them to know what kind of emotions they're conveying, they have to be really animated.
And make sure that we continue to show our leadership. As you know, this is something that we've been focused on for more than a year, since July of 2023. There, Monica.
What we saw yesterday with the president briefly wearing a MAGA hat, since the pool wasn't in the room for that, can you share a little bit more about how that happened and just what kind of message you think it sent?
So a couple of things for those, like you said, the pool was not in the room, so I just want to make sure I lay this out so folks get the context of what happened. So we were, the president was in Shanksville Fire Station, one of the locations, obviously, of where the plane was taken down on September 11th of 2001. So the president gave an impromptu remarks about bipartisan unity. That's what he was talking about. And he talked about it in the moment of September 11th. That's what we experienced after 9/11, and said that we needed to go back to that bipartisan unity as a country. And so he made those remarks, impromptu remarks, to some of the folks who were there on that day. And he offered a presidential hat to a man who was wearing a Trump cap. He was wearing a Trump hat, and he offered it to him as a gesture. And in return, the man said that in the same spirit, the president should put on his Trump cap. And so the president did, very briefly, and that's what happened. It was truly a back and forth about unity, and the president remembering a moment in time after a horrific incident on that day, and how the country did come together. It didn't matter what political party you were part of. It didn't matter. You came together as a country because we lost so many souls, thousands of souls, more than 2,000 that day. That's what you saw.
Did the president and vice president have an opportunity to talk about the debate yesterday throughout their travels?
I'm not going to, obviously they saw each other, spent some time with each other. I'm just not going to get into their private conversation. As I said, he's very proud of her. He continues. What you saw, and be mindful, what you saw on Tuesday was what he has said. The best decision that he made, and has said this many times, was when he was in 2020 and selecting his running mate, was selecting her. And he looks forward to continuing to work side by side in the next several months of this, his tenure.
And just finally, is there anything you can preview on UNGA specifically? President Zelensky said he does expect to meet with President Biden. He hopes there. Is that something you can confirm, and what should we expect from his time in New York?
So at this time, I can't confirm any details or specifics of UNGA week. As we get closer, we'll have more to share. We'll have more to share. Hi.
Thanks, Craig. Boeing workers are voting on a new labor contract today. Does the president support Boeing workers going on strike after management's proposed contract did not meet workers' demands for a 40% pay rise?
Yeah, so I've said many times here when we get these types of questions, is that we support, this president supports collective bargaining and believe it is the best way for American workers and employers to come to an agreement that works for all parties, and do it in a good faith way. And so that's what we believe, that's what this administration believes. And so we are going to encourage both parties to negotiate in that way in good.
You think they'd actually have the current president pushing more and be televised about his support for Kamala? Man, I think he's just done. I think he doesn't want to do it anymore. He doesn't want to campaign for her. He's already endorsed her. I don't even think he really wants to be president anymore. I think he just wants to ride off, into the sunset. He's had a long career. You can tell he's tired and he's kind of over it every time he talks. So he just wants to get to the end, get to November and pass the torch.
Faith in reaching a strong contract. And so we've said this many times when we hear companies and unions and these types of disputes, and just leave it there.
When was the last time a member of the administration spoke to the negotiators at this?
I will say that the administration are definitely in touch with the parties, which is not unusual, something that we've done many times before. And again, we continue to believe that the collective bargaining is the best way to reach a solution here.
Says the president who forced the railroad employees to stop the strike and get back to work. Hey, we're talking Boeing here, right? That's some big deal, It's completely different than a railroad, right?
For all parties involved, as long as it's done in good faith.
If I could add one more. Dozens of state and local election officials raised concerns this week about the Postal Service's ability to get ballots delivered on time. Can you elaborate on what the administration is doing to ensure that the USPS is going to be able to get ballots?
So I would refer you to the USPS on this one. Obviously, the president thinks it's incredibly important. He's, voting is a sacred right, and it should be something that Americans are able to do that and capable and able to make sure they're able to access that important sacred right. That's one of the reasons why very early on in his administration he signed an executive order to make it easier for people to be able to cast their votes. I would refer you to the U.S. Postal Service on specifics on that. Okay.
Thank you, Corinne. The White House has maintained that the Vice President has had a seat at the table and a voice in all major decisions that President Biden has made during his term. At the debate on Tuesday, she distanced herself from the President, saying, "I am not Joe Biden. What I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country."
And I would remind you that the President also said in many times, I'll point you to the Oval Office address, that he was passing the torch over, right, to a new generation. And he was proud to do that. He did it in an incredibly patriotic way, in a selfless way, and that's what he was doing. And he said it himself. What I will say is that all you have to do is look at what the President and the Vice President has done together, and that is something that she continues to support. What we did to turn the economy around, what we did to make sure that we lower cost when it comes to whether it's healthcare, whether it's energy costs. She was the deciding vote on the Inflation Reduction Act that mattered. That is, now Medicare is able to be able to negotiate with Big Pharma. We beat Big Pharma, and so she was able to lay out her agenda with the president's supports. We believe they have a shared agenda. That's what
voting is such a sacred right. We don't need to show ID for it. We trust you. Absolutely, man.
What we heard.
I don't even know how that's even an issue. Why anyone would even care about people showing ID.
That's what we saw from this vice president, and I'm again going to be really mindful on saying going too much into the debate. But I can speak to the.
Believe that she shares responsibility for the agenda of this administration.
Yeah, but yes. I mean, yes, they are partners in this. She is a critical partner in what we have been able to do over the last 4 years. But we cannot forget what they inherited going in, right? We can't forget an economy that was in a tailspin. COVID was taking over.
There we go.
More than 3,000 people are dying each day.
Blame
there was
Trump.
no comprehensive plan on how to deal with COVID. This president and this vice president got to work and put shots in arms and checks in pockets. That matters.
And on the optics of the last couple of days, President Biden has made a personal decision when he has encountered former President Trump not to share a handshake with him, which Vice President Harris did twice. in the span of 24 hours. Does he agree with that decision? Does he believe that that was...
She's her own person. The vice president is her own person. She's is allowed to do what she feels is the best thing to do. I cannot speak for how she engages with the former president. She's her own person. And the president has his reasons. I'll leave it there.
Quickly, just a clarification on the president's comments on Ukraine. He said earlier this week when asked about the possibility to change the policy for Ukraine to use long-range weapons into Russia, he said we're working on it. A U.S. official later clarified that there was no change in policy. Can you say what exactly is being worked on?
So I'm not going to get into the policy deliberations here in public.
Is she going to get into anything? She's literally not answering anything. Oh yeah, I'll just refer to you to these people. Like, are you going to just say something? They can't claim that Trump destroyed the economy, had high unemployment, and then take credit for when COVID runs its natural course. Yeah, they tried that in the debate too. They tried to say, oh, he wasn't tough enough on COVID, on the things, like tough enough on China specifically. When he was tough on China about COVID, they called him a racist. So you can't win. You really can't.
What I can say is basically what I said in answering one of your colleagues' questions about Ukraine specifically, obviously, which is that we want to make sure our focus is making sure that Ukraine has what it needs to defend itself, to win back their territory, their sovereign territory.
But people believe them about it? Of course they do. People are not going to research any of this. They don't have time. Most people are working a job. They don't have time to watch this stuff.
Win that back. And so that's what our focus is, and that's what we're going to continue to do. We have shown, and this president has shown and continues to show, a tremendous amount of support for Ukraine. His leadership has been very clear and out front, making sure that NATO is stronger, adding 2 more NATO members. That was because of the president's leadership. More than 50 countries he was able to bring together to support Ukraine as they continue to bravely fight for their freedom. And that's our commitment. I'm not going to get into policy deliberations from here. Go ahead, Fraser. I know last time I think I called you Michael.
I'll forgive you,
I
don't worry about it.
apologize.
It's fine. Water under the bridge.
Thank you. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Anytime. I want to continue asking about Ukraine if possible. Putin today.
Do you think she has an auto reply on her emails referring them to someone else? Of course she does. She never takes that thing down.
They said about these alleged plans to change the idea about long-range missiles. He said that it would mean that NATO countries, the US, European countries are at war with Russia. How concerned is the US about that statement?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm not going to get into internal policy.
I'm not going to answer anything
from here. I will say what you've heard from my NSC colleagues at this podium. You've heard from this president. This war can end today if Mr. Putin will end the war that he started. It is his aggression. It is his war that he started. He can end it. He could end it. I'm going to leave it there.
His forces have also reclaimed part of the Kursk region that the Ukrainian forces took in the last couple of weeks. What's the White House's reaction to the Russian advances back into the Kursk region?
We are going to do everything that we can so that Ukraine has what it needs to defend itself. That is our commitment. I think you have seen this, a very much focused, a tremendous amount of support from this administration and also from our partners and allies in doing just that. And that's what you could expect to see.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Karen. Following up on Springfield, you said that these
on Springfield. Yep.
Yeah, this
Back to that.
theories, about migrants put lives in danger. So how concerned are you about a potential rise in threats or even hate crimes targeting migrants?
I mean, when you have national leaders spewing hateful or lifting up hateful rhetoric and bizarre smear that has been debunked, as I just stated when I answered this question moments ago, that is dangerous. That is, yes, we are concerned. It is dangerous. I mean, you all have reported how communities, specifically Haitian communities, are fearing for their life because of how this is being lifted up. And this is about tearing communities apart, and we deserve more. Our country deserves more than that. So there is a concern. Anytime you see this type of rhetoric, this hateful rhetoric, these types of smears, yes, it could lead to dangerous scenarios. And that's why if you are a national leader in this country, if you're a leader of any kind, you should condemn this type of rhetoric. You should condemn it. We deserve more. And again, I talk about our shared values. That's what the president wants. He wants to be able to, so that people to get together around our shared values. And that is what matters, and that is what is important for our country.
But we just saw a video where it was happening. That's where it's dangerous, because now people don't want to believe you. Where if you just admitted to what we saw on the video, and we can say that was a one-time thing, maybe, that doesn't represent all of the Haitian immigrants, and clarify things, that would probably be better from your position.
Yeah, Jackie.
Thanks, Frank. One more on the Trump hat. What did the president do with it? Did he keep it? Is he like saving it for a Christmas present for his least favorite staffer or something?
Oh, wow.
I'm
Well, you've thought about that one. Least favorite staffer. I don't know. Maybe it's on my desk right now. I don't know.
Okay. On a heavier note, about the economy, there's a new analysis by the Republicans who are on the Congressional Joint Economic Committee. They looked at 7 battleground states, and according to their analysis, the average household is paying for the same basket of goods and services on average about $1,000 more per month compared to January of 2021, and the number.
Damn, $1,000 more. Average household. That's crazy. That's bold to say that everyone has shared values, which is, yeah, absolutely not true. But she's given her politician answer, so that's kind of what I expect from her at this point.
Numbers are pretty stark in places like Nevada and Arizona. It's almost $1,200 a month. Georgia, it's $1,075 a month. North Carolina, $1,017. Has President Biden's policies positioned the vice president poorly in these states to win this election?
So I'm not going to get into the election. I'm not going to get into her path to victory and what it does for. It's just not something that I'm going to speak to from here. What I can speak to is where we are now. Core inflation has gone down. That is important to note because of the work that they've been able to do. You see gas prices going down almost 50%. That's
corporate greed. Yeah, it's coming.
You see wages are rising faster than prices are. Nearly 16 million jobs created. And what I will say, so we have done the work to see progress in fighting inflation and lowering costs. But we do understand. We're not. I hear the numbers that you're telling me. We do understand that there is more work to be done. There's more work to be done. And that's why we're going to do what we can to lower cost by investing in record energy production, for example, building 3 million new homes, capping prescription drugs, cutting taxes for the middle class. Middle class is a president that talks about building an economy from the bottom up, the middle out, and not leaving anybody behind. And we have to talk about what congressional Republicans are trying to do. Raise costs by nearly $4,000 for the middle class. That's what they're doing. They want to cut Social Security and Medicare while giving breaks to billionaires and corporations.
No, they don't.
That is such an unpopular thing to do, and they continue to want to push that forward.
They're not pushing that forward.
They won't stop talking about it.
No, you won't stop talking about it because you keep lying about it.
They want to no.
We went through all of that.
Yes, we did. We went in the midterms. We went through all of it. We saw flyers and plans from leaders of the Senate Senate Republicans. We saw that. We saw the back and forth with the president at two State of the Unions where certainly he pushed back on that and made them say that's not what they wanted to do, but that's what they were saying they wanted to do. They wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. They've been very clear. This is not just the last 3.5 years. This has been for some time now. And they want to get rid of the Inflation Reduction Act that none of them, by the way, voted for, that beats Big Pharma. They want to get rid of that. That's going to lower cost for Americans. We're talking about important drugs, cancer drugs, diabetes. We're talking about capping insulin at $35 a month for...
If we made a drinking game out of these pressers, we'd all die of alcohol poisoning. Absolutely. Every time they bring up these same tired lies. for not violating the Hatch Act, she's doing a lot. Yeah, she's campaigning. This is pretty much a campaign speech right here.
Seniors that pay more than $400 a month.
Brainer say that we've turned the page on inflation, but American families
No, we
are
haven't.
feeling that to the point where the vice president didn't even directly answer the question in the debate. Do you believe that Americans feel they're better off than 4 years ago?
Look, we have made progress in fighting inflation. That is something that we have seen from the numbers, from the
Inflation is just now coming down to its average of what it was. That's their fighting inflation? That's it? That's terrible. That is just awful.
data. That is a true, in truth, right? I believe that the VP highlighted on how we are better off, on how off now, as well as her plans to build on that progress.
She flipped her notes like, "Oh God, I'm failing here."
That is something that she talked about. How are we going to build on that progress? And you know, I said this moments ago. We can't forget what this administration inherited: an economy that was in a tailspin. That's what we inherited. It was paralyzed because the former president did nothing during one of the once-in-a-century pandemic. He did nothing. Donald Trump did nothing. We took action and now our economy is stronger than ever. We're out competing China. That's something that we did. Let's not forget when we took over, violent crime we saw violent crime, murder at its highest in the former president's last year.
And this was debunked as well. Violent crime hasn't actually came down. It's the way that they report violent crime.
Now it's at a 50-year low because of the work that we did. And it started with the American Rescue Plan. Again, no Republicans voted for it. They didn't want to vote for something that had money for local communities, local police enforcement to actually have the funding they needed to get more police officers. They didn't vote it.
Just say yes to that question.
You're going to have to speak directly to her team. What I saw is she laid out how to build on the progress that we've made. That's what we saw. That's what she's talking about. That's what she talks about.
That wasn't the
Building
question.
on the progress that we have made. We had to fix what the Trump administration did. Okay.
Thank you, Corinne. Israel's UN mission said today that the 6 UNRWA workers that were killed at the IDF strike yesterday at the UN school and shelter were members of Hamas. The UN is neither confirming nor denying this. I was hoping you could give us the U.S. position on whether they are indeed Hamas members. Has Israel shared any evidence that they are members of Hamas?
So what I can say is obviously we're aware of the IDF strike in Gaza. And we are indeed concerned about, there are reports of civilian casualties, so we are concerned about that. We're in touch with our Israeli counterparts to get more information in what happened. As you just said, IDF said they were targeting Hamas officials, including those who were directly involved with the horrific attacks that we saw on October 7th. And so we've been clear that Israel has a right and responsibility to go after Hamas, but we also been clear that Israel must do this in a way that there is precaution, in a way that we protect, do everything that they do to protect more civilian lives. And so this is especially the case in declared humanitarian zones in Gaza, and that is something that we want to see. And so we're having certainly conversations about that. We mourn, and you hear her say this all the time. Every Palestinian civilian lost in this conflict, including children, and far too many lives have been lost and continue to be killed and wounded. And so we're having those conversations with our Israeli counterparts.
You don't have a position.
I don't have a. I know the question about you're asking me about specifically about Hamas leaders, officials. I'm not going to speak to that. What I can say is we're in direct conversation with our Israeli counterparts.
And moving on, still on the Middle East, is the administration involved in bringing the remains of Turkish-American Ayşenur Ege, who was killed by IDF in the West Bank? Is the administration involved in bringing her remains back to Turkey? And how do you respond to Turkish anger, both from the government and the citizens, to President Biden calling the shooting, quote, an accident?
So let me just say that what the family and her loved ones, Isanor's loved ones are going through right now is unimaginable. And I can't imagine the pain that they're going through with losing a child, a loved one. And their loss has certainly been on the president's mind. And
So she's talking about this. Pull it up. Says father of Turkish American activist wants U.S. probe into her killing by Israeli soldiers. The father of a U.S. Turkish American activist killed by Israeli soldiers occupied the West Bank has welcomed Turkey's decision to initiate an independent investigation on her death and called on the United States to do the same. So I guess you're trying to reach out and make sure that we actually do our due diligence and due care as well.
so you saw the president release a statement on her death, and the president said there must be a full accountability. Her killing was indeed an outrage, and you know, just to reiterate what I said moments ago, Israel must do more. They must do more to make sure that incidents like these never happen again. And again, the pain of losing a child is something that I can certainly that we can't even imagine.
But is the U.S. helping Turkey? Sorry, is the U.S. helping to bring the remains?
I don't have anything to share with you on that. I would refer you to the State Department specifically on that question.
At the Quad Summit in Delaware later this month, President Biden will be meeting with Prime Minister Kishida of Japan. What would his message be on U.S. steel acquisition by Nippon Steel?
Look, I don't have anything as it relates to Nippon Steel. I don't have anything to share on that. CFIUS obviously is going through their process. When they share their end of the process report, that they do that, they'll do that to the for the president. Then the president will make obviously a decision. I just don't have anything to share. There's no news to be made at this time, and the process continues.
Yeah,
sure.
Go
ahead, Nadia.
Thanks. The statement that the president released yesterday described the killing of Aisha Noor as a tragic error. I'm just wondering how the White House came to this conclusion, considering that she was shot by a sniper into a bullet in the head, as execution style. The Washington Post did an investigation. It showed that she was shot 20 minutes after the clash had ended, and all the protesters has moved from the main road. So how did you come to this conclusion? It was an error.
And I want to say, like, her killing was an outrage and should have never have happened. It should have never happened. That's what the president believes. It should have never have happened. I'm aware, to answer your question, I'm aware of the analysis, the various analyses that are out there and have been published, aware of it. As we have said, we're going to continue to stay in close touch with the Israeli and the Palestinian authorities regarding the circumstances that led to Aisha Noor's death. We're going to continue to have those conversations. And the president has been clear. He has been clear as well that there needs to be full accountability as well. We need to see full accountability here.
But in all the previous incidents, whether it's Palestinian civilians or even Israelis, hostages who were carrying white flag and shot by the IDF, or American citizens, whether it's Shireen Abu Akleh or Aisha Noor or others, is the White House satisfied that Israel ever came to you and they found actually the people who did it responsible and they held accountable? Are you satisfied with all this investigation?
I'm not going to go into every investigation. I hear you, but I'm not going to do that. This should have never happened. This awful killing should have never happened. It's an outrage. And just to what the president was referring to, and we've said this, is that the initial findings that were released by IDF, and it was also briefed, they also briefed the U.S. government on this. And so, look, the president also said there must be full accountability to what happened, and that's what we want to see.
Red Cross workers were killed in Ukraine today.
I just wondered, why has the president not spoken with members of her family who've said that they've been interested in hearing from him?
Yeah. Yes, we're aware of that. U.S. officials have been in touch with the family members, and so we are working on additional calls. I don't have anything to share outside of that.
Are those with the president? I mean, is he going?
We are
is he
working
planning?
we are working on additional calls, and I just don't have to share anything else to share beyond that.
Red
Go ahead,
Cross
Karen. Go
workers-
ahead, Karen.
Can I?
January 6th is going to be designated a national special security event by DHS and the Secret Service, which makes the counting certification of electoral votes the highest security designation the federal government makes available. We've heard the president give many speeches talking very passionately about what happened on January 6th. Back in 2021, but what does it say now that something that is a routine part of the election process is now getting this level of a security designation?
So, and you're
Political-
right, this president has
what?
spoken very passionately about January 6th.
Political corruption is too dang profitable for the shareholders. What are you talking about here? Give me specifics.
And what happened on that day, and how it was an attack on our democracy. He has shared his views, and he's also said the importance of making sure that never happens again. He has said that many times, again, in an impassionate, powerful way. I would,
Capitalism, what about it specifically?
as it relates to this designation, this is something that DHS and Secret Service, they can speak specifically to this designation. They made this designation, so don't want to get ahead of them. But you're right, the president's spoken powerfully about this. He's been very clear that this cannot happen again. And we know, look at 2022, the elections from 2022. We know that Americans care about their democracy. They care about their freedoms. And that's where a majority of Americans are. But I'm not going to get into specifics of the of what we heard from DHS and Secret Service today. Okay, Jared.
Red Cross workers killed.
UN Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield announced the U.S.'s backing of 2 permanent African seats on the UN Security Council. What more can the White House share about the importance of this and what insight and leadership Africa can provide to advancing international peace and security? And how likely does the administration believe that this resolution can be voted on at the General Assembly?
So just to take a step back, 2 years ago at UNGA, the president was able to announce the U.S. commitment to expand on the council with permanent representation for countries from Africa and Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as countries we've long supported for permanent seats. And so he did that 2 years ago, and what you saw today, to your point in your question, you saw the UN ambassador, the U.S. UN ambassador announce that our support for 2 permanent seats for African countries. And that's something that African leaders called for. And certainly, obviously, this is something that the president supported. So it shows, I believe, our commitment, the U.S.'s commitment to supporting reforms to the Security Council. I think that's how you should see this and view this. And by doing that, it makes the Security Council more effective. You have representation and more credible. And so any specifics beyond that, I would have to refer you to the State Department. But this is a commitment that you saw from this president 2 years ago coming at UNGA back then.
Question. The venture capital firm, the Fearless Fund, closed its grant program for Black women-owned businesses to settle a lawsuit that claimed that the grant was discriminatory. Doing so avoided it going to the Supreme Court that could have ruled in having implications for race-based initiatives across in the private sector. Does the White House have any reaction to this decision, this lawsuit?
So, anything specific to the litigation, it's an ongoing litigation. I would have to refer to Department of Justice. But I will say, and this is something I think I said moments ago, and the president has said, I'm just repeating what the president has said many, many times during this administration, that diversity is our greatest strength. And that is important. You see that in the policies that the Biden-Harris has moved forward. You've seen that whether it is schools or our militaries or our businesses, even in government. This is the most diverse presidential administration in history because the president and the vice president believes in that. They believe in making sure that when you talk about policy, you're talking about all the communities and you're bringing them together, and no community is left behind. This is an ongoing litigation that I can't speak to. That's something for DOJ to speak to. I know I have to get going.
The 3 Red Cross workers killed in Ukraine today. Can you
Go
address
ahead, Ed.
that?
Go ahead, Ed.
Thanks, Greg.
I want to ask you about the new census data that came out. It shows that childhood poverty went to 13.7%. It's more than double childhood poverty in 2021. So why aren't things getting better with all the programs and the money that's been spent or signed into law under the Biden-Harris administration?
So,
Had to do my job. What did I miss? You didn't miss anything. They're not really talking about any hot issues this time around. They asked about the debates and what Biden thought about it. Just a bunch of things that weren't really that important.
and I am really glad that you brought this up. If you think about the first year, and I kind of spoke about this a little bit in the past, 40 minutes or so, being at the podium, is that what we were able to do because of the American Rescue Plan is that we were able to cut child poverty by nearly half, and that's a record low. And that's because we were able to expand on the child tax credit. And again, the American Rescue Plan, not one Republican voted for that plan. Not one.
She spent a good amount of time bashing Trump and every policy that he's made.
Especially if you just think back what was going on during that time. And they decided not to vote for it. Again, economy was in a tailspin. And to this day, Republicans have refused. They continue to refuse, repeatedly blocked our attempts to restore that expanded child tax credit. Again, you're talking about poverty, that's what it was able to do. And what it did is lift millions of children out of poverty. And this just happened as recently as last month. Senate Republicans blocked a bipartisan bill to expand the child tax cut. So we can build on what we were able to do the first year. Republicans are getting in the way. They're getting in the way.
But we had $904 billion in non-defense spending in 2024, and you're telling me that only the child tax credit is the way to fix child poverty?
We saw what passing the American Rescue Plan, which expanded the child tax credit within, it was a provision, it was part of the American Rescue Plan, and because we were able to expand the child tax credit, the data showed that the child poverty was cut down by nearly half. And one of the ways, obviously, when you see that, what you want to do is continue to expand the child tax credit. That's what Democrats wanted to do. That's what Republicans don't want to do. That's what the president wanted to do.
My kids didn't get any money. Their mother got it, and who spent it on stupid shit. I feel like you're not alone in that, though. Or your kids aren't alone in that. I feel like that's actually pretty common.
If you see something that works, as a legislator, don't you want to continue it? Don't you want to continue something that works? They got in the way. So if you're talking about child poverty, we know how to deal with it, and they refuse to move forward with it. They refuse to move with the legislation that they just blocked just last month.
On another subject, the Treasury monthly statement came out today, and it showed that we still have a deficit. We're going to have a deficit of $1.9 trillion this year. The focus on the president and the vice president has been raising taxes. They want to raise taxes on corporations and others, and spending on programs. What's the plan for the debt?
So, we got to step back here for a second. The last administration increased the debt by a record $8 trillion. I hope you wrote about that. They didn't sign a single law to reduce the deficit. I hope you wrote about that. The President Biden, the current president, signed a $1 trillion of deficit reduction into law. He's taking action to deal with our deficit. $8 trillion deficit in the last administration. I really hope you wrote about that. And his budget would lower the deficit by another $3 trillion by making millionaires and biggest corporations pay their fair share. To your question, that's what it would do. Cutting spending on special interests. That's what he wants to do. Republicans want to, they want to increase the deficit by expanding the Trump tax cut, which would cost $5 trillion. That's what they want to do. So I really hope you wrote about in the past what the Trump administration did when it came to the deficit and what we've had to. Has
Ducey asked any questions? He wasn't even there, but I didn't see him out there. At least if he was, he didn't ask any questions. There weren't any hot questions like that. I'm still hanging on the road. So they're just mainly talking about deficit numbers. This was actually posted today where it kind of shows Biden from his term to present. Obviously, it's not over yet. $6.66 trillion is what he increased the national debt by compared to Trump, who increased it by 8.18 trillion. So she's not wrong with that, with what she's saying, but all the spending that Kamala wants to do is just gonna increase our debt by so much. So get rid of the Trump tax cuts would help middle class out just to avoid a deficit. I'm not saying that. I don't know if that's what she said either. It's probably what she blamed it on. She always comes back and blames everything on Trump, even if it's not even about him.
To deal with and fix. And every question that you ask me, I mean, there's some irony. Every question that you ask me is something that we're trying to fix and Republicans get in the way of. Literally, every question that you ask me.
I'm talking about the debt. The actual deficit spending is still deficit spending. How do we reduce the debt?
And I'm telling you what the president has done. $1 trillion is not a small number in signing a legislation to deal with the deficit. Now, $8 trillion, a record number in debt. That's what the Trump administration did. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, Obama did 8.34 trillion, so actually his was the record number. So I don't know what she's talking about with that. Just showing from that website there, actually Obama had the record number. We can come back and I'll show it to you. We go back 8.34 trillion. So Obama is the record number. The total debt, we can find it. See what the total debt was. It's scary to even think about. Total US debt, because it grows so much. As of the 9th, they're saying it's $35.35 trillion. Jeez. Madness. Here it is. That was fun. Kamala did a rally today. I'm not too concerned about that. All right. I'm probably going to log off. I'm going to try and make some shorts for my YouTube channel and get this video posted. I'm getting close. I think I'm like 3,700 watch hours into this. I need like 300 more watch hours, and then I can actually apply to be a partner to YouTube. So essentially, we save $2 trillion towards our 35 bill. It's productive. Yeah, man. I don't even know. They did have a Pentagon press brief too, though. But I'm not gonna get into it. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna hop off here. I'll see y'all.